Good morning.
Unmuted.
Good morning. It's Monday, September 14th, 2020, 9 a.m. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
I have a motion by Santos,
Second.
second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 3 is discussion of possible action to approve claims dated September 14th, 2020 in the amount of $1,244,378.49.
I would move to approve.
A motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Doug. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, item number 4, items with Mike Nolan of Horizon Architecture. Mike, are you on the phone this morning?
Mike's here, Mark's not here.
Okay, great, Mike. Okay, the first item, we have a discussion of possible action authorizing the chair to execute a contract with Crawford Company in the amount of $74,305 for the Muscatine County Jail hot water system upgrade project. Anything to discuss on that, Mike?
Nope, not really. As we had discussed earlier, we ended up having 2 bidders come out. We invited 4 to decline the bid. The original project, or the projected budget was over $100,000, but both came in under 100s. We're happy to see that. Crawford was the low apparent bidder with everything in the contract, so recommended we approve this. They're currently working on getting submittals together. We're trying to figure out if most likely this work will occur after the roof replacement based off of the current schedule. So nothing really to add, just happy to see we've got some good bids on this.
Okay.
Mike, do you know, did we get those hot water valves or those drain valves rotated and connected?
Yep, that was completed, I think, about 3 weeks back, and it was actually, I think Crawford completed that work as well.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion by Nathan,
Second.
second by Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item B is discussion and possible action to approve change order number 1 for the Muscatine County Sheriff's Edition project in the amount of $2,888.65. You wanna talk a little bit about that, Mike?
Yeah, you bet. As part of the project, we had put in a unit cost for replacement of the exterior weather barrier on the existing building. Since as part of this project, we're gonna pull all the vinyl siding off and reinstall the insulated metal panels. Based off of what we found, basically taking off the end where we're gonna be tying in, the product is it's an older product. It's unfortunately not the highest quality. It's kind of like more like a polyethylene sheeting with some minor reinforcement in it. There's several abrasions, punctures, things along that line that we see on what we can see right now. Kind of after reviewing that, we could certainly go piecemeal and do a unit cost to replace bit by bit. But after talking with Levi Downer, the site foreman, and Blaine Doppler, the supervisor, I just said, hey, let's just throw together a number to pull all that existing weather barrier off, put a new modern Tyvek on there, and then reflash in the windows. Essentially, what you can see is that this is going to be more advantageous, particularly if we find large areas that are damaged. And all in all, I think it's going to be a better product for the county. So this seemed like a fairly reasonable investment given what we've discovered. So
this is
essentially going to pull all the. Go ahead.
This was a rewrap, and then all the new, make sure and weather flash all the windows. Correct? Is that what I read?
Correct. We're gonna tear off all the existing weather barrier, and then we're going to rewrap and reflash the entire building.
Yeah, that's always, in my experience, that's a good thing. Sometimes you never know. I worry if they shortcut it on the wrap on that vinyl, if they did the window flashing right, because that's usually a weak spot.
I'll make a motion to approve.
So I have a motion by Santos, second by Doug. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Mike, did you have a projects update for us?
I do. So with the maintenance facility, we continue to battle with Johnson Controls and Simplex to get them on site to execute the service contract. As we've discussed, I mean, we're going on over 2.5 months now since everything was installed. And we had about a month delay or maybe a month and a half getting them to get a proper contract to us. Once we had that executed, we thought that would move pretty quickly. That seems to be lost in the quagmire of the Johnson Controls bureaucracy right now. Oscar, Sherry, and I have been in frequent contact and very pointed contact with our point of contact for the contract. We're getting a lot of excuses and a lot of runaround. Most recently, talking to the gentleman that is our only contact at this point last week, he is on COVID quarantine, even though he assured me he was continuing to follow up on this. Until we get them to actually make contact and connect the system, there's nothing we can do, and the city will not give us a temporary CO until the fire alarm system is in operation. So I don't know really what else we can do at this point. You're seeing potentially, I've got daily emails and phone calls into this guy. Oscar has a phone call in to the direct scheduler, who at this point seems to be the short, basically holding up the process. We don't have anybody scheduled, even though there is a work order in the system.
Mike, how much money have we yet to pay them, or have we paid them everything?
I don't think we paid them anything. Sure, you can verify. I think the last thing I saw was after we approved the contract,
This isn't part of the
we
bill.
requested they send an invoice, so I don't
This
know
is
if we
us.
received that yet.
Right, but
Right.
someone's still not doing what they need to be doing, right?
Right, this is,
So let's
We
get
got
somebody
the
else in.
contract, We got the contract signed,
The owners
now we
of the
can't get them
What?
to make the connection.
They're the owners of the system, that's how it works.
Let's rip it out, charge them, put somebody else in there, have them do it.
yeah.
They're the main people for that type of service.
This
There's
is one of those
nobody
very
else.
unfortunate things where you
There's
have
nobody-
no
I
alternative.
mean, there's nobody else that
We
does
went
that
with
type of
them.
service.
Because that's who has the system over at the jail, that we really haven't had issue with. You know, this is just kind of an unusual situation for them. You know, we've had Simplex for years over there, it was bought out by Johnson Controls, that was a smooth transition at the jail. I think it's this particular Johnson Controls employee who keeps dropping the ball. I made a contact to someone higher up from him, and I may have to do that again and say, you know, don't make it impossible to do business with you.
Yeah,
I know some people from Simplex. We can make some follow-up calls. I think I've had to follow up with some times with the city when they opened up one of the buildings downtown. So I know some of them. It's the same group we use at Bayer. So
That would be fantastic. I mean, anything we could do, essentially, obviously the client, Oscar and Sherry have leaned on in that respect. I've gone so far as to say, hey, look, I'm a specifier of this type of system, and I am having a hard time of, recommending this to clients. So I don't know if it's just falling on deaf ears, and if you call their office, you get disconnected. There's just some really bad communication going on. So we really just have whatever connections or strings we can pull to get enough pressure to get this connected. If you have anything else I can do to follow this up, I'm glad to do it. But really, at this point, I'm just,
At this point, we're into consequential damages as far as we're concerned.
So that's not getting very far.
How, do you say this has been 2.5 months we've been waiting on these guys?
well, it took us a month. to
I
get the
feel like,
contract.
I mean, that equipment the final piece was delivered and installed by American Electric, I think back in July. That was like the last piece we were waiting for. So really in that time, we've just been waiting for them to do their final connection.
Do we have a written contract with them?
Yes, we do.
Does that written contract have a date specification?
As far as when
I'm
they
sorry,
are connected,
Yes.
the contract is an annual maintenance contract, because what they do is monitor the system. If anything goes into alarm, they call here
Their
or
system.
Oscar and see the
Understand.
alarm going off. Yeah, we have.
So I don't know that it's necessarily an installation contract, it's just.
But they did do the
Maintenance.
installation, correct?
Right, it's the ongoing maintenance
Well,
contract.
first-
No, so the,
So Mike here, I
this
want,
is where it gets, this is where it gets tricky. So the installation was done as part of the general contract for construction for the building. That work, to our knowledge, is all done correctly, or they've gotten at least as far as we can. So all the equipment as part of the general, this is where we're outside the realm of really the general contractor's responsibility. Essentially, they install the equipment, and then you have to have a contract, with basically an annual maintenance contract, as Sherry said. So this is, unfortunately, now the county dealing directly with this provider, this vendor.
We did sign a contract for installation with them, because the county signed it, we didn't run it through as a subcontractor of Swanson, so we do have that in the, I need to pull that,
I'd like to see that contract.
yeah.
I'd also like you to let us know next week where this thing stands.
Absolutely. I mean, we continue to follow this up, and hopefully by next week we'll have this connected. I've been told it could be as simple as just somebody clicking a button remotely, but again, until we see something actually happen, we all know.
They come down. They come down. When they did the ones downtown, I had to literally reach out to some people because they were having similar issues with the city not opening up the system. So this isn't uncommon with that group. I don't know what the reasoning is, but I think they don't run on a high head count of people, and they're pretty much just kind of, they certify the system, they walk down the system, they make sure there's no air leaks on the system when they pressure it up, and then they coordinate back through the control, monitoring place to make sure the alarms are all set, and then they test them, and then they send it back. So that's kind of how they certify it. And then the city will come back, and, the fire inspector will come back in and certify it, and that's basically what we have to do. But it's just a coordination effort throughout that.
Do we have any way of calculating how much not having this operational cost us per day?
Um,
I don't know that
Probably
there is
not.
any real cost. I mean, we're operating, maintenance is operating out of the other location.
Oh, we're paying
We have-
insurance on the building, right?
We haven't switched, we have the, builder's insurance, but Swanson also has that. We haven't switched anything. We haven't switched utilities or anything until we occupy the building. When Swanson reached out about switching the utilities over, I said, no, not until we have an occupancy permit.
Very well, I'd like to see that contract. And I'd also like to make sure that whenever they eventually do switch this on, they don't try to bill us back to whenever they should have switched us on.
Absolutely. I know we had that Jeff Date made, I think they had August 1st for the date. They already updated that once to September 1st, but we'll make sure that gets either prorated or the initial annual push to when we actually have a functioning system in the building, or the city has accepted it, would be
Good.
my recommendation.
Because we're at the point where the city fire marshal is calling us saying, hey, when can we do this? So we have to tell him, no, we're not ready yet. So the city's not holding this up at all.
No.
It's the fire system.
Okay,
Mike, while you're still on,
We have a few other items that we are just waiting on material to get the front entry screens completed, and then get the extensions of the rails completed. Again, those would not be hold up for occupancy at this point. Mike Hopkins already said he'd give us a temporary while we're waiting those items. Sounds like they're gonna coincide, as that work should be completed here towards the end of this week, was my last understanding. We're waiting for an update from Swanson on that. The new overhead door, the coiling door is installed, it's great, so all that stuff is moving along well. Any other questions on the maintenance facility?
so did we ever address that filter issue over in the bathroom?
That's in process. So we had Swanson had the one in the laundry area room, or the storage room, that's corrected. So that piping was completed. We were looking at the ceiling tile modification. So Swanson had their person installed, and I haven't heard, or on site to look at that. I haven't heard an update on that yet. Keegan was out last week, so he said he's going to follow up and give me an update on that, which I can email over. We will continue to pursue that until we get that solved.
Okay. Can you give us an update on the roof?
Yep, absolutely. So we had our pre-construction meeting, I think about a week and a half back. So we've met with the Captain McCleary, and identified laydown sites. So as far as logistics, we're all set up and coordinated for that. The anticipated start is towards the end of September, early October right now for Geist. They were set to start early this month, and then we had the derecho happen. So they've been more or less, working on buttoning up exposed roofs and, doing emergency repairs. But the last understanding was that we would start at the last week of September, 1st of October. Anticipated timeline on that was about 6 weeks for total construction. So at this point, we are just waiting for them to get started, but everything's in place, just depending schedule availability.
Okay. Good.
And then as far as the county, the sheriff's edition, we're moving along well on that. Unfortunately, with the rain last week, that set us back a little bit, but they were doing pretty well in their schedule. We did have some minor water infiltration into the building around the perimeter, basically at the eave of the existing building. Myers was notified, and they had people on site to address that. Unfortunately, first day didn't take care of everything, so they came back and did some more, basically tidy up second day. We have identified where the damage is, and that will all be repaired when they get into tying to the existing portion of the buildings. Again, some ceiling tiles, potentially a little bit of drywall on the cap. It sounds like one piece of equipment got wet. Myers said just track what we have. I had Captain Slate go tape the tiles that appear to be damaged. All that stuff will be repaired when we get towards the end of the project. So unfortunate, but water does what it does, and we'll get it taken care of.
Yep, that's always a challenge when you break into a building.
On that roof, one of the questions that I had when I was up there, there's like a cooling tower that we have somewhere, I think mid center of that building, and it appears to be that cooling tower looks like they do kind of a chemical cleaning, probably sulfuric acid, or not sure what else they put in there, maybe bleach. Do we plan on doing any potential extra sealing around that roof area, or probably containment around that cooling tower? Do you know, Mike?
So we looked at that when we were walking the roof. The guys has an approach for that, which we'll look at and review as they go. I think that it's the washout is not impacting the surface or the material on the roof. It's just more of an aesthetic issue. But that's something that we'll review on site with them as they go, their approach for that. That, unfortunately, that piece of equipment, we're going to work around it, and it's going to be kind of in place as we go. But we'll talk and verify with them. But when we looked at it initially and on the conversations, there weren't any concerns about longevity or the durability of the membrane as a result of that operation.
Yeah, once you tear into that, I would question that, because it definitely did look like it was having an effect on the material, but I think it would be probably good to see what they find when they tear it out. Maybe it's just, like you said, aesthetic, but it does look like it obviously has had some sort of a chemical potential or some sort of discoloration of some nature that has gotten on the roof.
Certainly. I mean, it continues to be a concern. What we likely do afterwards is perhaps or even have Crawford look at whether there is part of the other project, potentially hard piping that over to a drain so it's not running directly onto the roof membrane.
Yeah, that or some small containment that goes down to a drain. I think it just, again, it was something that I had noticed when I was up there that I thought might need some attention when we look at that roof. But,
Okay, yep, we'll definitely follow that up as we go.
thank you.
Okay. Did you have anything else this morning, Mike?
The chairman.
I think that's it. So,
Anybody have any other
just go along, and again, apologies, and I appreciate everybody's frustration on the maintenance buildings. We'll continue to chase that down, and if we find anything out there in the week, I will email that along. Otherwise, I will talk to you next Monday and let you know where we are.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.
Yep. Okay, on to item number 5, discussion and possible action to approve the extension of the COVID-19 emergency disaster declaration originally adopted on March 23rd, 2020 with emergency manager Brian Wright. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. As you know, COVID disaster declaration was 6 months ago, and in that it had a sunset period, which is September 23rd. I'm requesting from the board to have an extension for this.
Are we looking at another 6-month extension,
I'm
Brian?
going to request a 6 months and/or terminate if deemed necessary or not.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. This would impact our ability to apply for any grant funding or any FEMA assistance or things that we might need if. Okay. So, any questions?
So, I mean, do we put down an actual date, or we just kind of review that after another 6
It's-
months?
It says 3/22/21.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Santos and a second by Nathan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. Item number 6 is discussion of possible action to approve a renewal application for a Class E liquor license and Sunday sales permit for Rife Oil Company doing business as Stewart Road Fast Break on 2418 Stewart Road, Muscatine, Iowa.
I moved approved.
I have a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Doug. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item 7 is discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the September 8th, 2020 special meeting.
Moved approved.
I have a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Nathan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Correspondence this morning. Santos, did you have any correspondence?
Just similar emails that I think everyone had gotten in regards to the ATV and UTV meeting that we had on September 8th, and meetings in regards towards wanting to, approve that, and then also the correspondence that I think you had forwarded that we had gotten from the police chief in regards to
City of Muscatine's policy.
correct, kind of understanding what their regards were on that as well too, so I forgot about that email.
I did as well, Sue.
And the chief not in effort or not in favor of us wanting to approve that, but again, we'll decide that when we get to a vote. And then I had gotten one email from Jim, the county attorney, in regards to the follow-up that I had asked him in regards to where we were at on evictions, and he had shared with me some eviction information that he had received a week ago. So that's all I have for
Okay.
correspondence.
Nathan?
I basically just had the same ones that Santos mentioned regarding the ATVs.
Okay, then I had the same ATV correspondence as well. That was it for me. Scott?
I'm probably right there with you, the same emails, and I did have several conversations throughout the week with individuals that had attended that meeting or knew about the meeting and couldn't attend and wanted to know how it went, and just general conversation on that. There seems to be a lot of positive interest in that. That's all I have.
Doug?
All I had was email on the ATVs.
Okay. What about committee reports? Did you have any committees last week?
We had a safety committee meeting, 3 o'clock on September 9th.
Okay.
That's the committee meeting.
Scott, did you have any committees?
I had no committees.
I had no committees.
I had no
Nathan?
committees.
Santos?
I had no committees, but I forgot I did email also the team with the housing information that we received for the Affordable Housing Long-Term Solutions Program that came out of bi-state that I shared with you guys.
And I want to talk to you about that. I have a meeting coming, we talked a while back about that housing funds, and Community Foundation may be interested in doing some affordable housing stuff here And, so
Well, that's
I'd
what
like
this
to-
group, that's what this group had shared with me that we had available, which I didn't know, and so.
Yeah, I'm not aware of it, so this is a different thing, so we should talk about that. And I think, I'll get with you on that. I think I'm trying to meet with the Community Foundation, cause they wanna do something local in Muscatine County.
Yep.
Get initiatives going, and I believe we're meeting this week or next, so I'd like to see if you
Let
can
me
attend
know,
that. Yeah.
like I said, read that, it's an 18-page report.
Can you give me the Cliff Notes version?
Yeah.
We need more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, it's a program that's looking for, different,
This was like
perspectives.
silos to,
Silos to Solutions program
Solutions.
that the
Yeah.
Quad Cities is doing, and all I wanna do is look at their format and figure out how we can implement that here, because they're doing that for the Quad Cities, that's funding for them.
Yeah.
I'm looking at how do we just, duplicate a lot of what they're doing and figure out how can we implement some of that here.
so the
They're
Community
looking at-
Foundation Board is interested in doing something similar, and they have a group working on it in Charlotte Schaefer, so
Yeah.
this might be a good way to have them kick that initiative off.
Well, we can share that same program with them.
Good, okay, perfect. Anything else?
I had no committees, no.
Okay. Item number 10 is items with the administration office. Item 10A is discussion of possible action to approve resolution 09-14-2001 requesting reimbursement from the Iowa COVID-19 Government Relief Fund. Sherry, did you want to talk about that, or?
This is just a requirement, you guys have to approve this resolution before we can turn in the request for reimbursement. We're looking at, for right now, $143,113.12. That's reimbursement for the April, May, and June dollars that we forwarded to
Public
Public
Health.
Health. We're asking for that back, and then monies that they've spent since that haven't been reimbursed, and this is gonna be an ongoing.
Request.
There's a cap of money set aside for Muscatine County, and I don't know whether we'll hit that cap or not, depends. But-
Okay.
And then I'm working on the FEMA reimbursement. These are costs that are not covered by FEMA. These are the regular hours. FEMA will cover overtime hours that they spent, so I'm handling that, and so we're hoping to get pretty much everything covered.
Sherry, can we include, or do we have a potential of being able to look at funds from PPE, extra things that we may have gone in through the county? So is that something that we're looking at in the 143 already, or is that something above you're looking to look at adding on to the next request?
The PPE cost, from what I understand from Christie, most of that was covered by other state COVID money for them.
I was talking about us.
Yeah, for us, I have all that documentation, and I'll request that through FEMA
Okay.
for reimbursement for our acrylic shields, our sanitizing machine, our hand sanitizer gel, our gloves, all that. We've pulled everything, and
Perfect.
we're
Good.
gonna send in for reimbursement for that also.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
And the representative from FEMA that's working with us, that one person will review the FEMA application and the state COVID application. So like he said, if we have one listed one place and it should be the other, they'll let us know so we can switch it. They've been really good. He's been really good to deal with and helping us through this. So, that's helped with him saying, what about this? And did you have any of this? You need to claim that. The court system costs through FEMA, we're gonna have to have something from the state saying they're requiring us to have whole court offsite to ask for reimbursement for that, because, when we have court at the Armory, we're gonna have staff, maintenance staff, custodial staff on overtime going down to clean that every night. So it's not gonna be a real significant cost, but there will be some costs there, whether that goes through a request for the state money or FEMA, but we are gonna request that back also.
very good.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, so I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
So a motion by Santos,
Second.
second by Scott. This is a roll call vote. Any further discussion? Santos, how do you vote?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Anything else for the board this morning from the administration office? Okay, thank you, Sharon. Item number 11 is receive information from county employees. Keith, did you have some things this morning?
Yeah, good morning. Just quick project update. F-58, Old 6, Durant to Walcott. That project is completed, essentially, open to traffic. G-28, they had paved down the hill from Seven Springs to Burlington Road, and we're in an area of even slower going. Lots of drainage structures coming down from Lutheran homes, culvert, storm sewer work, sub-drain work along there. And again, we're in areas that are all reconstruction, so remove, replace. So we're guesstimating removal starting about Wednesday east of Burlington Road. So, it'll take a while to go that last short distance in multiple stages. I think that's it.
On the other parts where they've paved, Keith, have they done shouldering and all that, so they're kind of moving everything along, or?
Shouldering is done. Most everything is done on the rest of it, but the pavement, they run a profilometer in the wheel tracks to check for smoothness. I mean, we've known for years now that smoothness does affect not just the ride, but the life of the pavement. Let's take a heavy loads, not bumping over a bump that needn't be there. They've got grinds to do yet on that, so they're not gonna stripe it till they get that done. So, but they're stay fairly caught up behind. And
Good.
so I guess I'd say it's going as good as expected. Questions on construction?
When we demo out the old existing concrete, what do we do with that?
I believe in this, are
For
you
example,
asking
on G28,
specifically?
for like G28,
Well,
do we use that to recycle for base on something else? Somewhere else, or do we store it, or is it theirs?
Depends on what it is. Our typical projects, it belongs to the contractor. In this one, you've probably observed Hire has quite the recycle down there in his yard.
That's what I was wondering.
So it's going there, it's get crushed up and used again.
Yeah, they use it for base, I think he uses.
Yeah, well, I know, but I was just wondering, I mean, if there's, are they grinding our old and then using it for base and then charging us for a full price of new? And then hypothetically, if it's really ours, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, and that's a no, and the modified sub-base has a very specific gradation, which really needs to come virgin from the quarry.
Okay, so it's not that base.
That's correct.
Okay, good. How are we looking at, I know we're kind of, I think this cold spell kind of made me think a little bit, where are we at on eventually starting to look at our loads for salt for the upcoming winter?
And that's a reminder of something I forgot, so they also plan to start on our parking lot, had planned a whole week ago, so we look maybe again the middle of this month, of this week. Still would be the middle of this month, but the middle of this week for them to start on that project. We do have a lot of millings there on the non-paved side, which that will go down to our lower yard and continue to belong to us. Where there is pavement, again, it's higher, it's probably headed, it's headed to his, but that's sort of the situation there, and so we would have started hauling or having salt delivered, but
Right now, it's a delay.
right now it's a no, because there would be no good way into the dome. Normally all the heavy traffic's to to the north side of the buildings there, and so we wouldn't want those loads coming through our good parking lot.
At one point, I think last year you talked about looking at storing some salt potentially and even gravel, I think, over in the West Liberty area. Is that something that we still are talking about or looking at long term?
We still would like to look at it, and we've talked to the city, they just don't have any place to accommodate it. We're probably not in a position yet. We have looked at putting some in the neighborhood of the West Liberty shed.
And we don't have any buyout properties probably anywhere in those areas that would be suitable for an operation like that. Would that be something you'd be allowed to do in a buyout property?
You can't add a permanent structure to a FEMA buyout property, but would a
Well, I don't think there's
So-
anything in the,
Nothing in an area you'd wanna put it, right?
we would put, if we did it, we'll put it right by our shed. It's just, it's a little tight maneuvering in there. But no, we haven't.
I was just thinking long term cost of driving
Where the
everything
West
back and
Liberty
forth.
shed is.
It's on the road that, I can't think of the name of the road, but you go past the turkey plant and you're heading out to, there's some subdivisions out there.
Yeah.
It goes out to Elder, but it's right on that road, it's right by the turkey plant. Right, and on
We
the
had
northeast,
property available.
northwest corner of the fairgrounds area.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, we had
What's
any
that?
other property in that area that might be,
Salt that needs to be under a roof.
Needs to be under a roof, okay.
Yeah, we've thought about, putting up a hoop shed, but that's something we haven't dealt with yet.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that I might want to add that, and I can get you more detailed information, but we'll be bringing you numbers on at least one, but maybe two small trucks. By that I mean the tonners that are plow trucks that do the Moscows and the Montpeliers and that. And they're frankly extremely hard to get. They haven't built many. The dealers aren't having spec trucks on their lots like in the past, so we have a good line on one. We've always got essentially Monroe demos that are out to these, and we might know yet today a line on another one, but that's something I'll probably be bringing next meeting.
1 ton trucks is what you're saying that they are, or they're bigger?
They're like, if they're Fords, they're like 450 or 550 side, 1 ton trucks. Bigger than a regular pickup, but that's what we have to use in these small unincorporated towns that we have to plow snow in.
Those are your plow trucks, you put salt, you just basically set up with snow fighters.
Yeah. But I mean, they are work trucks during the summer.
Big tandems, you just can't get around with them.
Yeah.
Or get turned around.
Yeah,
They're handy to have.
yeah.
Okay.
We have quite a few areas that those trucks have to service. So,
Okay.
And you're thinking you're not gonna be having any success finding any right now?
well, Mike has been at it for weeks, if not months. I asked him and he told me he's looked at hundreds. And I said, well, the board's not gonna believe me when I tell him that. And I said, we'll bring you down here and you can tell him. But literally, trying to find trucks. So
Todd,
Okay.
that's just a size that they didn't build with the COVID stuff. So they are out there. We are looking for something very specific, and I think we're succeeding, but we'll let you know better in a week.
okay.
That's all I had.
Anything else for Keith? Thank you, Keith. Any other county employees, Brian?
Just to give you a latest on the COVID-19 from Muscatine County. Total cases 1,034, recovered 851. Presently, we still have 52 deaths We do have some long-term care facilities that have had an outbreak. Premier had 18 positive cases. They have recovered 14. Simpson Memorial Care in West Liberty presently has 19 positive cases. My office continues to work with local public health. We do have meetings with the nursing homes, also having meetings with the school districts. I do get information about the migrant camp in Conesville, so we continue to be updated on that.
So those are the only two long-term care now in the county that are in outbreak status still?
We have 5 facilities in Muscatine County, and all 5 have had outbreaks at one time or another.
After these, they've all, it's been.
Right, I will get numbers today, and it's possible that Premier can be off. The state considers 3 positive cases at a care facility to be an outbreak situation.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it for county employees? Okay, the next item on the agenda, I see no public here, so if there's any public on the call, have you got any people out there, and has anybody indicated anything in the chat room or anything, Christie?
We have 3 people on the call.
Okay, so we're gonna unmute the phone, and if any members of the public wishing to make a comment, please do so at this time. State your name and address and issue.
Going once.
Okay. Hearing no one, the meeting is adjourned.